this is Subbu. Meeting after so many weeks. Thank you very much. Now, we have been discussing about the AI applications, the AI. Okay, in fact, there are a lot of batches that is going on for AI security officer, governance officer, risk officer, AI officer, ISO 42001, etc. Left, right, and center. Now, let me tell you something. Okay, so whenever we deal about the AI and the vulnerabilities, especially with respect to governance, risk, and compliance, okay, and the security as well, the AI vulnerability doesn't operate in a silo. Okay, so we should all understand. No? We work on what is called as we need to coexist in the world. So the AI application also coexist in the IT world. Okay, the vulnerabilities, the threats, okay, which makes the risk. Okay, sometimes they are inherited by the other components as well. So there are 7 layers, okay, of vulnerabilities that impact the AI infrastructure. Okay, so we are going to learn about this in this particular video. The first one is the weakest link of the complete security chain. Okay, it's the human layer. The human layer is prone for social engineering attack. Okay, now the systems and the hardware work the way I configure it. I might be misconfiguring it. That's actually okay because I have misconfigured that. But if you look at the human layer, okay, it's something which is unpredictable. Okay, when everything changes, the human layer also change. uh, Assume that there's an employee who joined 5 years back as a bachelor, okay, in my organization, and he had a limited requirement for income, okay, because of the bachelorhood, okay. He was actually okay the salary that he was receiving. Now, after let's say 3 or 4 years, he gets married, okay, and he has a family. Then he needs more money, but unfortunately, the company is not performing well to pay him a very good salary. In that particular case, okay, what actually happens is he'll start looking out for a different job. And in case he doesn't get it, okay, and he becomes a disgruntled employee, okay, that could be the reason for information leakage, okay. That is the social engineering attack. There's a human layer, it actually attacks. So an employee receives a deep fake voice call. In fact, this year we witnessed one of the incidents that happened in the country where 250,000 US dollars, okay, were supposed to be, it was transferred to, I think, 20 million US dollars, I guess, was transferred to various accounts. The financial controller was actually on an call, online call. Other than him, everybody was, it's a virtual character. So it's a deep fake attack. It happened over the period of 6 months, is what I have learned. Now, in fact, there are different ways by which you can thwart an attack with respect to the deep fake. Okay, one of the easiest ways to ask a question on a secret. Okay, that the financial controller and the CEO knew. Okay, what did we discuss last time? Where did we meet last time, etc. Okay, there are other ways also we can find it out. The technology has also improved now, and the respective government has taken a very good action against this particular attack, and they have also uplifted their standard to a level, okay, just to ensure that people don't fall to this deep fake attacks anymore. Okay, the human layer is always the most vulnerable layer, okay, in any security chain, okay, including the AI. Okay, the second layer is the governance policy layer. Okay, now you are expecting something to be there, okay, with respect to the governance, okay, but it's actually not there. Okay, in fact, the only governance framework for the moment, okay, that is a law, so regulatory compliance of the European Union AI Act. Now, the UK is anyway going to come up with they're going to enact this as a law by summer 2026 is what we are expecting, and other countries are likely to follow. India has released an AI guideline 3 to 4 weeks back, and we are also expecting, okay, to get that as a law any sooner, because when the guideline was released, the DPDP was not a law in India, but now it's a law in India. Okay, so one of the core pillars of the governance is also the privacy. Now we can also expect the AI governance law, okay, to be introduced here. The Vietnam introduced a guideline a couple of weeks back. Okay, SADA is already there. Okay, in Saudi Arabia. So every country is coming up with an AI law, okay, an act. So you are expecting something to be there, but it is actually not there. Okay, that means that you have an oversight of what lack of oversight of what exactly is happening. Shadow IT. The shadow IT is a term, okay, like in an organization, okay, there could be an IT infrastructure which is not known, okay, to the actual IT department. Okay. Now nowadays it doesn't actually happen. Okay, because when I started my career in '97, there is we used to have a test IT environment. Okay. Now, in those days, like even BS 7799 was not that popular. In fact, my first job was on AS400, and IBM had a book on C2 complaints. Okay, that was TC-SEC. Okay, we implemented that as a part of, and I was working with Hyundai Motor India at that time. Now the shadow IT, okay, which was something which was very normal that time. Okay, but when we got onto this test domain, development domain, production domain, etc. Okay, then we were forced to also identify the shadow IT. Okay, now the shadow AI is a concept that actually came from the shadow IT. What is shadow AI? The hacker, okay, from security perspective, the hacker does not have an access to the live model, the internal working, the data set it's actually working on. So what he will actually do is, okay, he will create a model based on algorithm and this a data set. Okay, then he'll query the actual production AI and look at the response, and he will also do the same thing on the shadow AI. He will try to match the shadow AI responses in line with what the production AI is. Okay, at some point of time, he will uncover how the production AI on what data set it is trained on, etc. So that he will actually form what is called shadow AI. So in the lack of oversight, you will forget. Okay, you will tend to oversee. Okay, there's a shadow AI in your environment. Okay, so that's on the governance part of it. The third one is on the application layer. We should also understand that AI model, okay, that is being generated, it's not something that is directly accessible. Okay, you need to have a wrapper. Okay, that means the application interface. Usually, the wrapper is a web interface. Okay, now one thing we should always understand when it's an AI, okay, the AI model specific attacks is what we are going to discuss. Moment and web application wrapper is around. Okay, so it's known for OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities, SANS top 25, and Web Application Security Consortium, all these vulnerabilities. These vulnerabilities will be inherited by your AI application also. Like the specific vulnerabilities with respect to AI application alone, okay, so which we will see next. But moment you have an web application, web interface for your AI application, the vulnerabilities which are prone specifically to your web applications are also applicable for your AI application. So OWASP top 10. Okay. In fact, OWASP, prompt injection, LLM vulnerability is different. So OWASP has got OWASP top 10 LLM vulnerability, ML vulnerability, and non-human identity vulnerability, NHI vulnerabilities. Okay. Model layer, this is where the model theft and inversion actually happens. Okay, so what is a model theft? Now, so model is actually a file. Okay, so if the file is going to be on your internal system, okay, it's known to what is called an insider attack. You can buy a model from a third party, or you can develop your own model, or your model will be hosted on an external service provider. Okay, we'll discuss about that scenario. Okay, now, and model can be serialized and deserialized. Okay, so if there's a serialized file, I can steal that serialized file. To steal that serialized file, I should have an access to that particular environment. That's where the identity and access management comes into the play. Now, the AI application, okay, surrounded by the web interface. Web interface is actually sitting on an operating system which sits on hardware which is connected with the network. Okay. Now, there are rings of vulnerability that are surrounding the AI application. Okay. So the model layer is a core, okay, because that's what is going to be like a program, okay, the program layer with respect to the AI, okay. This is also prone to what is called as a model theft and the inversion attack. There are a lot of attacks that are available with respect to the model layer, and the Google Secure AI framework, it also lists down these attacks, okay. So in the coming videos, we'll be discussing about all these things, okay. Data layer. So data is actually called as a data set, okay. Now the data set is ideally divided into two parts. Okay, one is the data set that we are actually using for training, testing, and validation. Okay, there's the pre-deployment stage, and the data set that we are actually using on the production, which is the live data. Ideally, the data set which is used for training, testing, and validation, there's the pre-deployment stage, is not the production data, which is created synthetically by Gen AI tools. So usually it is 70, 15, 15. So 70% of the data is used for the training phase. Okay, 15 is used for testing and 15 is used for validation. And before that, okay, there is actually a stage called as an ingestion. Okay, we need to collect the data, we need to form the data, treat the data. So data engineering, future engineering, all these things, actually identification of these outliers, standardization, normalization, everything happens there. Okay. Now, the data that we are actually going to have for the training, testing, and validation, if it has got some bias, for example, if there are 100 rows on the data set, okay, let's take an Excel sheet as a data set, 100 rows on the data set, okay, if the 90 rows has got the gender for men, okay, and the remaining 10 has got for women. When the training actually happens, okay, the model assumes that, okay, the majority is always men. Okay, so it's actually called the bias. Now we need to do what is called stratification to ensure that there's an equal distribution of the gender, equal distribution of anything. If there's a nationality, okay, if there's going to be an ethnicity, race, okay, so religious inclination, all these things, okay. Now, usually during the stage of exploratory data analysis, you will get to know it, okay. In my classes, usually I say, the algorithm is a parent, okay, like a father, and data set is actually a mother, or it can be vice versa, whatever it is. If there is a poison, okay, in the algorithm, or if there's poison in the data set, okay, that's going to be carried over by the child. The model is actually the child. So the child's behavior or the model's behavior, it all depends upon what algorithm we are using, on what data set we are subjecting the algorithm, okay, to get our model file. Okay. So data layer, again, your data set could be internal, or your data set is something that you're going to do a web scraping to actually get it. Or your data set you can download from a third party, okay, which would be an open source, Kaggle, etc. Or you can buy it from a third party. Okay. So we will look at the dynamics of the AI, okay, in some point of time, but the data layer, okay, is also one of the parent that will cause the poisoning. Infrastructure and the framework, as I told you, data set surrounded by the AI layer, surrounded by the web application, which is surrounded by the operating system, which is surrounded by the application infrastructure vulnerability. Okay. Now the hardware is also prone for the aging. The hardware is also prone for the attacks. Okay, when I say attacks, if the data center has got the not a proper identity and access management, okay, it's not based on the principles of least privileges, okay, or by mistake, unintentionally, although somebody can pull out a network cable, okay, from the server, okay, it can cause an outage. All these things are possible, okay. So I can tip somebody to remove the network cable, or by mistake they would have removed it, okay. We cannot brush aside the possibility of this thing happening. So if the hardware aging part of it, okay, if the entire AI is hosted on a normal system, okay, the traditional host, okay, without the hypervisor layer, then the hardware failure would impact the performance or function or the availability of your AI application. But nowadays it's all virtualized environment, which is transparent to any of the failures on the hardware. So it's internally virtualized or externally virtualized on the cloud, whatever it is. Okay, if there's a virtualization, okay, the infrastructure, okay, the hardware, the hosting platform is going to have an impact. Okay, so it'll not impact the availability of the AI application if it's running as an instance. But what about the network? The ISP is actually going down. Recently, we faced an outage with one of the cloud service provider, where it is actually not because of the cloud service provider, but again the DNS, the issue, okay, which caused the instances not to be accessed by the public, which impacted many of the very popular applications, including the Perplexity. Okay, so there's on the infrastructure and the supply chain, the network layer. Next is what the network layer that we are actually going to see. Now, the supply chain attack, okay? Now, the supply chain is a very big subject, okay, which I'll part this discussion in a while. Physical and network layer, the underlying hardware and the network also, the ISP is one of the part of the supply chain. If the network layer as a part of the ISP is down, then it becomes a supply chain. But if your own network is down, let's say the router is actually not working, okay, so that becomes a part of your own network issue. Now we have issue with the network. Okay, there's a supply chain, the power, okay, outage, etc. Then with respect to the hardware, with respect to the operating system, hypervisor is also one of the layers. If you're going for the virtualized environment, then web application layer, then you comes your the AI application and then the data set. Now, like the rings of the operating system that we actually discuss, okay, as a part of my CSSP classes, these are all rings of the vulnerability with respect to the AI application. Now, adding on to this dynamics, okay, let me tell you something. Your data set could be internal or your data set could be external. That means your data set could be internal because let's say you're a supermarket, okay, you have your database okay, which has been populated for last 20, 25 years, etc. Or your database data set is something which you are purchasing from a third party, or you can download from a third party like Kaggle. Your data set hosting platform could be with you, or could be with the CSP, could be with the MSP, managed service provider. That's on the data set. Now, the model, it could be something that you have developed, or you have asked somebody else to develop it for you, or you are using what is there in the cloud. There are three players: MSP, CSP, and yourself. For the data set, also three players: MSP, CSP, and yourself. Now, your data set could be on one cloud, okay, and the model could be on other cloud. That means the CSP, hosting CSP for the data set could be one player. The hosting CSP for the model could be another player, okay, or it could be the CSP and an MSP, managed service provider. Okay, now, so if you look at the complexity of this, okay, if you're going to have your data set and model with yourself, okay, so there are standards that are applicable for you. Moment you get onto the cloud, this ISO 27000, 17, 18 is applicable for you. For MSP, there's a separate standard for the third-party security. So if you look at the dynamics of the security with respect to the AI, okay, it's very complicated. We need to understand, okay, so in fact, I always say the security follows the data. The security also follows the model in this case. Okay, so data exfiltration can also happen attacking the infrastructure, attacking the data layer, attacking the model. Inference attack, I'm not leaking the data, but they're inferring, okay, the availability of a person's record in the data set. Okay, now join me for learning about AI risk, AI governance, AI security, and AI compliances. Okay, subscribe to this particular channel. Stay tuned for the further videos to explore the world of artificial intelligence. Thank you very much. This is Subbu. You can join us for, these are the courses that we actually have. You can mail us on training@itriplus.org.uk if at all you want to join us for any of this session. I guarantee you the best delivery. Cheers and bye-bye.